Hello there. Welcome back. My name's Tamara Grant. This is No Brush Required, and I will just grab my co-host, Barbara Reed. Here we go. Hi, Douglas. We're hoping this all goes well today since I've been in Insta jail for the last 24 hours.
Are you still in jail?
I tried to comment this morning when we first chatted, and I couldn't get in, and I didn't want to go back and do anything to jeopardize my account before today, before 11.
Good idea. That sounds very wise. I just don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't see my stories yesterday, all of a sudden Instagram sent me this message saying I wasn't allowed to comment on anybody else's posts anymore or my own posts because, I don't know, they're trying to keep Instagram safe. I must have said something really mean like, that's a lovely color palette on that painting.
That would be nasty if you said that.
I know. Anyways, I got messages from quite a number of people who said this has happened to them in the last couple of days or the last week, and they've been sort of unable to comment for 24 hours, and then it just corrected itself. Hey, Brenda. But I didn't want to go in and check this morning because yeah, I'm just going to censor myself. There we go. Now I can see my chin. I don't know if I want to see my chin.
We should do some bad angle stuff.
We're so good at the bad angles. Oh, God. Anyways, everything's been strange in my world because so my husband tested positive for COVID last Monday, the last day that my 80-year-old parents were visiting, just before they got on the train to go on their Rocky Mountaineer fancy train trip. So it was very stressful. He's been in the guest room all week. He's not been allowed anywhere near me. And I've been testing every day. Like, is that a sniffle? Is that a headache? You know how it is. You're just kind of like, am I going to get it? And I didn't test positive at all. Touch wood. It's late. It's late.
I know.
For him. And nobody else who's been in contact with him did either. My boys didn't. He tested negative yesterday and he's feeling a lot better. So it's just one of those, it's been a weird week.
Yeah. Wow. I'm glad to hear that you're healthy. Yeah. Very important.
It's very important, as you know. Yeah.
Yeah. And Douglas said hello earlier. And
I saw Douglas and I saw Brenda. And before we get on to today's guests, I don't have a copy of Susan Washington's book handy. Do you?
I do.
Okay. So next week, it's not a No Brush required reads week, but we do have a guest who has recently written a book. Her name's Susan Washington. You can find her on Instagram, Susan Washington Art, and she's written a book called The Art of Selling Art, which is a great read. It's a fast read. I've got highlights all over it, and it's just out, and it's all about selling online, which is what a lot of us have been doing as opposed to gallery sales. So I highly recommend the book. If you have a chance to read it, we're going to talk to her next week and ask her lots of questions about it. She's also pretty.
That means I better read it between now and then, right? Or no? Is it necessary?
You should have a quick look because for me, I found some areas that are clearly lacking in what I'm doing that maybe are places I could pick up my socks a little bit. Melody's reading it.
You do everything. I get your newsletters. You got your website.
But there's ways to refine things that I know.
You know me. I'm bad. I'm like really bad.
Well, and it's always learning. Like there's always new things that you can be doing and trying, and everything's evolving online, both in a good way and a bad way, which we don't have to talk about right now. I just finished listening to this week's Art Juice with Alice Sheridan and Louise Fletcher, and it's on hacking scams and trolls on the internet. Great. And it's not a pretty picture they're painting.
And Alice would know, wouldn't she?
Yeah. So there's your recommendations for this week. Go listen to Art Juice, and then read Susan Washington's book, and that'll help you maybe have a more positive spin on what you could be doing online. I don't know. Yeah.
So I could read it between now and next week.
Oh, you could read it this afternoon.
Truly.
It's very readable. take your Sharpie or your highlighter as you go through and just highlight some things that resonate with you. It's very well written, but it's an easy read too. And it's so actionable. Like you'll see stuff and you'll be like, yeah, those are 3 things I should do.
I need someone to come and fix my website.
Ugh. Yeah, I know.
Like it just makes me, yeah. Instagram, I think I'm good, but everything else.
Outside your website looks good. We should do a website audit. We should think about that.
Don't go into mine. It's so ancient. Like I don't think any of those paintings are around it.
Oh.
You know what it's like? It's like an archival look at what I've done. And I don't. This is a confession. I don't think I can get back into it.
Oh.
I think I have to contact GoDaddy and just say I can't remember my password and it's been so long. It just,
They'll help you. So,
anyways, enough. That's my sob story.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to have, we have a guest on today, and she is a friend of mine. She's a local Port Moody artist, originally from Mexico, moved to Canada. I don't know at what point. We'll have to ask her about that. And had a different career before she moved into art, and I want to talk to her about that. And there's just so many things we can talk to her about. Her name.
Questions. I got big.
You got questions? Her name is Angie Quintanilla Coates.
That's a hint.
Yes. Oh, tape. I know. And she goes by @the55 on social media. And I'm just going to see if she's here. Here she is.
I want to know why that's her handle on Instagram. Hey, Angie.
Hi. How are you?
This is my first live. I was like waiting for the button.
Really?
Oh, and you responded so quickly, which was great.
Oh, thank
Sometimes
you.
People are like, I can't find it. And then they send me a request. And
I'm like watching it like a hawk.
Yes. Well, I'm so happy you could come and chat with us today. I know we were supposed to talk, back in August maybe, and you had some exciting stuff happening because you were just moving into a brand new studio.
I got questions about that too. I got so many questions.
It's so nice to be chatting with you both.
Well, we're pretty informal, and so I gave a little bit of an intro, but usually we ask you to, tell us a little bit more about your backstory, how you got to where you are today in your art career, and then I want to talk about murals and licensing and recycling, upcycling, and all the good stuff.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. So Tamara and I have that in common, that we didn't do art right away. We had different careers and found art later in life. I've always been very creative. I went to an art high school. I did art camps, like all of that. But at the time, growing up in Mexico, when it was time for me to go to university, my parents said, yeah, we can pay for art school, but are you sure? This is a huge sacrifice for the whole family. Is that where you're going to invest? And, I don't regret it, but I gave up on my dream of art, and I thought, my dad was like, that can be a hobby. And so I thought, okay, so I studied international relations. I got a BA with honors, and I enjoyed every second of it. I think it helped me, right after I graduated, I moved to Canada, and having that degree helped me get like a real job here and get it established. But you know what? I gave up on art completely because I just felt, well, it's not practical. It's not going to serve me. But I tried to express myself without knowing. Now looking back, I see how, like, I was constantly getting in trouble with HR because I would show up wearing bright neon pink, hot pink leggings. And they're like, well, that's not business casual.
Oh my God.
And then, I would start I wasn't even in the design department, but I'm like, I'll do all the PowerPoints. Like any way I could. I taught myself how to use Photoshop. Right. I can see how my creativity was just dying to get out. I would wear so much makeup. But again, I thought, art is not, I don't have time for that. Also, at the time, I was dealing with some addiction issues and an eating disorder. So that honestly took up all my time, my free time. And then when I got sober, I had the chance to really think, like, what do I want my life to look like? I have this second chance. Have I been making intentional choices with my life? And I started dating Jeff a few years after I got sober. And he's an artist, my husband. He's very talented. He's been doing it for a long time. And he's to blame for all of this that's happening.
Yay, Jeff. I like him already.
He's a great guy.
He is always drawing, like every single piece of paper I had, like my shopping list, anything would have drawings on it. And then so we started drawing together. And for me, it was a joke, like, look at my stick figure and his like amazing comic. And he would always say, oh, you have such a strong, confident line.
Is that a compliment, or is that one of those like find something, some small good small thing to?
It is a compliment.
It is.
Yeah. So he really encouraged me, and I felt like I said, like, I have this secret. I've always wanted to do art. And he was like, yeah. So he was very encouraging. And then I started working with a career coach. I started doing websites, actually. Okay. We can talk about that.
Hook you two up. My nemesis. It's my nemesis.
Yeah, I started designing websites and doing more graphic design. And then just to call myself a designer was like, it couldn't come out of my mouth. I felt so uncomfortable. And then from design, I started doing illustration. And then I started painting about a year and a half ago. So all of this creative career has been 7 years long, I think. So it seems like a long time, but to me is a blink of an eye. And now I can call myself an artist without cringing too much.
Yeah,
I'm like,
good for you.
90% like I'm an artist.
Yeah. And then you just kind of let it lie. You don't apologize for it, or
yes.
Good for you. Good for you.
It's easier to say you're a painter. I find saying I'm a painter is easier, except then people think, you paint.
You're a house painter. I was going to say, we need our walls done. Could you come out and do them? It's true, though.
So
I hear you.
But you were doing you had some licensing work you were doing for a while through your illustration, right? Were you working with some corporate clients? I thought you were working with Doc Martin and M&M's.
So when I started, I guess, thanks to Instagram, I started sharing a lot of my work, whatever I was doing. I started, I think, doing more digital, like collages, because I couldn't really draw. And then I got an iPad one summer and went on vacation and started drawing on the iPad. And I started sharing that on Instagram. And from that, some brands would approach me and say, hey, can we pay you to make an illustration? Which I was severely undercharging, by the way. Now I know. And then during the pandemic, an illustration agency reached out and said they wanted to represent me, which was, huge for me. And I got to do some work that was still coming through me. Like the brands were reaching out to me, but having an agency, a lot, like they would negotiate the contracts for me. And then I learned, wow, I'm not charging nearly enough. So yeah. And then I'm with an amazing agency now, which is not just an illustration agency, because before it was only an illustration agency. Glasshouse Artists represents me now, and they do all sorts of visual art.
I didn't know those would exist. Like honestly, this is the first I've heard of this. Agencies for illustrators and creatives. I did not know that they even existed.
It's a brand new world for me. I think there's a misconception of those that do know about agencies, that they think the agency is going to go out there and get you work, which can be true, but it's like a tag team. Like my job is to put myself out there, which, like what we all do, the three of us putting ourselves out there, sharing our work, and then the agency kind of negotiates. Because I am so bad at pricing and contracts and licensing and all of that, and they handle that, and then they take a percentage. But with this agency that I'm with now, it does feel like the most collaborative it's ever been, which is cool, because I have weird and wild ideas. I can't stay in a niche. I tomorrow I may do woodworking or ceramics, or I really want to do it all. And I don't feel like I need to stay in a niche, because anything I say, she's like, yeah, there's a market for that. So what do you want to do? And we'll do your best work, and the clients will come.
Wow.
God, that's so exciting.
It is. And is it an exclusive relationship? Like, can you work for other clients outside of the agency? I mean, I'm just curious.
Depending. Yeah, I guess every agency is different. With her, it would depend on like the location, and some jobs I can say, hey, can I do this on my own? You know, especially if it came through me. But I personally say, can you please just help me with everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to take pressure off you, you get to do the creative stuff, and then they get to do more of the accounting, administrative stuff. Are these projects just in Canada, or are some of them from the US or elsewhere beyond?
US mainly, and then some in Canada as well.
But most,
I've never done anything in Europe yet.
yes, I like that. There's still lots of time. It sounds like you were making up for lost time, though. Like it's just spilling out of you.
Yeah, I honestly feel like this is like the most impractical career, hobby, whatever it is, practice, but I love it so much. It's the most expensive and messy. And it's like the air that I breathe. I just have to do it. Sometimes I'm like, why didn't I want to just be like an accountant or something?
I just don't see that for you,
No.
Angie, at all. So
No.
you weren't working out of a studio before, but now you have, I think you said it was like 100 square foot studio space?
I did. Because I have this like commercial art practice, but about a year and a half ago, I started seeing Dazed and Confucius, which is an art consulting agency, to just build my confidence as an artist. And she said, do you paint? And I'm like, no, I haven't painted since high school. So she's like, well, you might want to consider it. And also, she's to blame for everything else because I started painting about a year and a half ago. And in my home office, there's only so much that I can do because I use it for, you know, other things. And then, you know, when things are drying, you can't really move them around. So it was becoming very, very impractical to do the projects that I wanted to do, especially the reclaimed plastic that I started doing.
And how fun is that? Like I was looking at some of the things you've done. So fun.
Yeah, thank you. So I looked online for a while for studio spaces in the area because I didn't want to go to Vancouver. I wanted to stay in Port Moody.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. I'm on the wait list. I think you are too, Tamara.
35th on the wait list at Esplanade, and I was told there's no turnover.
Yeah.
So
those 13 studios for the whole city of the
and
arts.
The joke,
but anyway,
the joke is Port Moody, our tagline is City of the Arts.
And yeah, limited studio space. Really no studio space.
But we have a Facebook group of artists, and then I posted on that group, hey, does anybody want to rent a commercial space? Like, what if a bunch of us get together, we rent a commercial space, and we have our studios? And then from that, people started reaching out, and then I got a private message because I shared what I wanted to work on. I said, this is my reclaimed plastic project. I want to grow this. I don't have the space to do it at home. I'm ready. I thought, you know, maybe 6 months from that, maybe I'll get a lead of something. And a person who turns out to be like my neighbor, she lives next door in the neighboring building. She said, I have a studio space that I don't use nearly enough, and I want to transfer the lease to you. And I'm like, and it's walking distance to my house, and it was practically free. So I moved there. And I painted in the 6 months that I was there, I painted like maybe 3 times more than I painted in an entire year in my home studio.
So it makes a huge difference.
Huge difference, yes. But then that was a temporary space because the building is going to get developed. And then we had some issues with the roof, and I understood like they're not going to fix the roof because they're tearing down the building.
And the mice.
And after, oh yeah, and rodents. So
rodents.
I call it. Oh yeah, infested. But you know what? I love art, so this is a sacrifice. I'm like, is that thing gonna fall on the roof? Gonna fall on me? I'll die doing what I love.
Exactly. It's a good way to go.
Yeah.
So are you no longer in that space? Or?
I'm no longer in that space. It kind of after one of my paintings got rained on twice from roof. I saw Braid Street Studios had a a rental here in Port Coquitlam, which is a neighboring city. And I didn't even reach out. I just drove to the location to see it. And I thought, this is my space. So it's not free because the other one was free. But it feels good to be like, oh yeah, I am paying for this studio. It's beautiful. The light, I have windows.
And
I love it.
And Angie's old studio, she didn't have windows. Nobody had windows. It was a big industrial open space that had been sort of partitioned into smaller studios. So it was all unnatural light, right?
It would take me sometimes, because some of the client projects that I worked on, I have to film my process. It would take me sometimes an hour to set up the right lighting, so I didn't get all these horrible shadows. And in my studio, I just open the window, like open the blinds.
And you've got,
like, I see you both have amazing light in your.
I have plenty of light.
I do, but I have also a ring light that helps.
Yes, I have.
You know.
I have all of the lighting that I bought.
And then all of my box lighting for when I'm photographing art. Like I ended up buying not an expensive kit, but a kit on Amazon that I can at least set up diffuse box lights, because as the pieces get bigger, it's harder to avoid the shadows and the glare.
Thanks to your, you shared those lights, Tamara, and I bought, I think, the same.
Oh, did you?
Are they soft box? Are they called soft box?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're great for what I need. Yeah. They're exactly what I need for my space.
Yeah.
So.
And they were like $100.
Yeah. Yeah. Something like
Canadian.
Which is
yes.
like $20 American.
20 cents American.
So are you able to, and I know you probably weren't set up for this, but are you able to give us a really quick tour of your studio? Is that possible?
This is my home.
Oh, you're not in your studio.
Yeah, because my art studio, I share, the owner of the building is an amazing woman who is a woodworker. So she has her wood shop in the back, and I didn't know if she was going to be using some power tools. Yeah. I mean, I don't hear it a lot, but, you know, I thought.
It would just be the luck that today would be the day that, you know, the power tools were going.
Yes.
Well, I still need to get down and visit. You're on my agenda this fall to make it to the next town over. I know it's not very far.
How far away is it? If
1-minute drive.
A 1-minute drive.
No, 20. 20-minute drive.
It's 20 for you. It's like 15 for 13 minutes for me.
Okay. I'm farther out on Ioko Road than you guys are, so a little bit longer, but not that long. So we just kind of we touched on the recycled and upcycled art that you were doing. Do you have any samples that you can show? Because it's so cool.
No, and I want some of it.
This is not one of the better ones, because this was a Listerine bottle. Yeah. But then I started cutting the necks and then adding air dry clay.
I watched that. I watched how you do that with the clay that you get, and I thought that is so cool, so clever.
Yeah.
And so this comes out of a passion for environmentalism and wanting to contribute to sustainability, and you have a lot of there's a lot of ists, right? So in your titles, I was kind of looking through and thinking, you're a feminist and you're an environmentalist, and you have all these, other things that you're doing that are supportive of causes, which not all artists do.
No.
So,
very, very imperfectly, all of it. But yeah, I started, I learned that 90% of what we put in our recycling bins and we wash it and we, separate it, 90% of that ends up in the landfill. Yeah. In fact, more in Canada. It's worse. Wow. Probably like only 7% or something. And the numbers may change, but and it's not our fault. Like, we're doing what we can. So we've been sold a lie. And so I was just collecting all these bottles. And I think I saw years ago, there's a ceramicist, I think in Europe, who did actual ceramics that look like bottles. And I thought, well, but this is not reclaiming. What if I save these bottles and I do that, but with the actual bottle?
Right.
So I was collecting, I have like cabinets and cabinets of plastic that I didn't want to put in the recycling bin, and no space to do it. And I also thought, well, this is like a non-practical, silly idea, kind of like when I was in high school and I thought, don't go to art school, do something. I felt like this won't make me money. But working with Penny Lane from Dazed and Confucius, I kind of changed my mindset of like, there's the art that makes me money, and then I have to continue my passion in experimenting and playing, and yeah. And it's funny because and I thought, this is ridiculous, it's garbage. That's one of the things that has resonated with the most people. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So do you sell those pieces? Like, is there a market for that? Because to me, they look extraordinary and they're funky and just like, I would want anything. I'd get one of your Tide bottles that you've painted and display it, because they really are, it's like buying a piece of pottery or something.
Thank you. I've listed a few on my website, but I am really bad at telling people that I put it on my website. I just like making it, but not selling it, but I should be better at that. And right now I'm working with an art gallery, like a local indie awesome art gallery, and they have one piece available.
Who's that?
For that? Through the art shop.
Okay.
Right now they kind of migrate to different spaces, and right now they're in a temporary space at the motel on Main Street,
Okay.
City Motel. Yeah.
You know what, I mean, have you ever thought of talking to the owners at Grit? Because your work would fit in there so well. And a lot of what the owner, Cesar, does is he finds old things at garage sales and, makes stuff out of old cameras and old electronics, and has really cool displays of old suitcases. Like a piece of an installation that he did was a bunch of suitcases that he collected, and somebody bought it right away. That might be an interesting place for you to have some of your work displayed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can see you at something like the One of a Kind show too, because those are truly one of a kind pieces, and I mean, would stand out incredibly well at a venue like that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I should continue painting. I think I only have like 2 pieces left, and I don't know if this happens with all of you, but because it's something new that I've started doing, as I continue and the quality in my process gets better, then I look at the original ones, the OGs, and I'm like, well, you're not as good. So then I think I just have to keep getting better, and then I'll be ready to like put them out in the world. So only like the very best ones I've sold, but I should get over my perfectionism, because a machine didn't do it. No, a human did.
Yes,
that's right.
And part of the appeal for people too is, seeing what your journey was, seeing what your process was. And so, yeah, maybe your early prototypes, they don't pass quality control, but maybe you don't have to hold that same high standard that you're doing now. It's just people can see where things came from.
True. And those like higher quality ones, I've sold 2 or 3, I think, and then one is at that gallery.
Right. Well, I think this is a really cool message to a lot of us who maybe don't let our quirky, I'm going to call it quirky, it's not quirky, but you know what I mean, our like little quirky individual passions come into our art, because those are the things that make us different and separate us from everybody else out there, and that make people sit up and go, hey, that's a really cool and different thing. And from a marketing perspective, because my brain often thinks of that too, now you've got all these other areas that your work could be marketed towards. And so communities who are interested in sustainability and recycling and upcycling and secondhand, and it gives you a whole bunch of new hashtags that you might not have used with your other work, right?
I don't know if you can relate to this, but recently, like, this came up in therapy, that I grew up in kind of like a judgmental conservative society, and then I'm a self-taught artist, so automatically I have this insecurity that, like, the imposter syndrome of, am I doing it right? Am I legit? And I kind of keep recreating the same scenarios in my head of, when I was younger, like, are you going to wear that? Are you going to say that? Are you going to do this? And I think that happens to a lot of women, not just me, of like, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And that has been getting in my art. Like, I have that, those voices that when I actually shut them up and I don't care, should I be doing this? What are people going to say? Are they going to like it? Are they going to think this or that? That's when I create my best work. So I'm really working on just, tuning all of that out and just be
you. And I mean, clearly, like, you've got so much to express, and it comes out so in such a distinctive way. I almost think, God, I wish I was a gallery owner, because I can think of the artists who I just love their work, and there's something that stands out. I'd have a whole wall of your stuff plus your 3D objects. I mean, it just like your shoes. I'm thinking you got to do baseball hats, because I could use a new one. But you know, like things like
and
wearable art and like practical
her waist
art.
pack. She has the most beautiful fanny pack that she wears.
I've seen all your stuff in your pictures, and I'm like, where can I get this? Because it just strikes such a chord, and it really resonates. There's something wonderful about, something really uplifting and just positive. Anyways, I'll stop gushing. But
it's the colors too, right?
Yeah.
So Angie, your colors are so signature, your shapes are so unique and so you, and there's just, I mean, I've never met a color I don't love. So you know, I totally, I'm in love with the way you work.
So I got to ask,
Yes.
because we're talking about color, like what paints are you using to get these gorgeous, you know, opaque, super saturated colors?
I use mostly golden so flat, and
These guys.
Yes, I love them. And then I mix in sometimes, I think it's called flash or like this French one. They come in this glass jars.
Yeah, so it's a vinyl paint, right? It's a new one. They just started carrying it at Opus in the last year.
Yeah.
Flash? I don't think I've ever heard of this.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. It has an E at the end.
Yeah, it probably is though.
And they're very vibrant, but I find that they're very translucent as well. So you do have to mix in some white. But you know what happened? So when I did this, the mural, I got paired with this amazing artist, Lei Hoon. Art Tiguava is her Instagram handle and her artist name. And she uses very different colors than I do. We have some overlaps, but with this mural, we really wanted to overlap even more. And yesterday I was in the studio and I was painting, like, this is an Art Tiguava color. I'm kind of blending some of her colors with mine. And then she said, oh, you're making me use brighter colors. So we kind of both influence. I think the combination of those two color palettes is the coolest thing yet, but I haven't shown it that much. But
it's interesting how that happens, because Barb, you and I sometimes kind of converge on things too. Like, you know, we'll be when we share a lot back and forth. We interact with each other on social media, but we also interact a lot behind the scenes and ask for opinions on things. And some bits of our work start to, you know, we pick up little bits of each other's colors or what's currently going on.
Now we're working with the raw wood as part of, and that kind of happened at the same time.
It did, and it's so interesting because, you know, we are influenced by the people that we interact with, and it's not a bad thing. It's, you know, it's just, but it's a very kismet, you know.
Kismet.
I love that. I feel like this is like art school.
It
you
is
know,
like
you have that community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you're doing your murals, I mean, clearly you can't be working with these little dinkies. So, and the colors in that mural you did for Opus, which it looks magnificent. How the heck?
Well, that was my first, and that I was so worried about that because I had, you know, I do have such a particular color palette. So with most of the colors, we were able to find outdoor paint that you can use. But the pink, I use a very signature bright pink, and that pink does not exist in like Sherwin-Williams. They don't carry that. And I, just before I started painting, so I was about to start painting and I still didn't know what I was going to do with the pink. And I saw these friends who are also designers and creatives, and one said spray paint. You can just buy spray paint. And I'm like, oh yeah. So there's an art store in East Van, Layout Supply. I think I told you.
Yes.
And they specialize in spray paint, and they had like 5 different types of hot pink, which is what I use. So I was able to pick the exact shade that I needed.
Brilliant.
And then you just make like a stencil so that you masked off the areas you didn't want to spray. Like, how do you do that?
There's this, it's amazing how everything happened. Just before I started, I also went to this art show and I said something about using spray. And then this woman who was there at this open store, It's a gallery in Vancouver. Anyway, she has this tape that comes with like paper below. So it's a roll.
Okay, yeah.
And so it makes it very easy to tape things when you're spraying.
And
the first time I didn't cover nearly enough, but I can share that link. I don't have them here, but those rolls are life-changing too.
Wow. I was just so impressed because, you know, we often talk about in our social sphere, talk about scaling up. And most of the time we're talking about going from like a 12 by 12 inch painting to a 24 by 24 inch painting. And I mean, to go from the scale that you were working at, things you could hold in your hand essentially, to what was the final dimension on it? Like 20 by 20, 30 by 30 feet?
I don't even know, but it was high. And you know what? I really wanted to use a projector to trace the design because I am a perfectionist. It's my first. These are geometric shapes, so they have to be right. And then we saw that it was brick. So we thought the brick is going to be our grid.
Yeah.
And we kind of just eyeballed it.
The grid, but the brick's never going to be completely straight, right?
No, because you've got like all
it's going to be, but
the grid, and then where the mortar is. I mean, that would be challenging in and of itself to get those crisp edges.
And I did like circles. So to do like a circle, I like that they're wonky. Yeah. I think like it was a good experiment for me to be like more loose.
Yeah. But you have to think about the distance at which they're viewed too, because when people are stepping back to see them, the eye's going to interpolate, and that's going to be a perfect circle, or it's going to be a straight line. It's not, you're not going to see as you're driving by, right?
Yeah. And I know.
Oh, sorry.
I saw it just before it was finished. I was there last week and the scaffolding was still up, and I went in and I'm like, where's Angie today? And she's not in today. I was like, darn. So I haven't been back since the scaffolding came down, but I did see your reel with you standing in front of it, and I'm just so impressed.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what happened? The day I finished, I was feeling like at night a little bit tired, and I'm like, wow, this mural really exhausted me. And then the next day I got COVID for the first time. I've never had it. So it was just like, this is the perfect time because I had just finished. So I think when you went in, I must have been already watching Netflix under the blankets.
I knew you were sick, but I wasn't sure what the timing of it all was with respect to the mural. So,
well, that would have been exhausting because you're up on the scaffold
and your arms are up over your head. And
I was very, very naive, and I asked my friend who was painting with me, so do you continue working out while you're painting the mural? And she looked at me like, well, you might want to not, but up to you. And every night I was exhausted. Like, it's a lot of physical work. I didn't know that.
How many days did it take?
We were there in total about 3 weeks, but I also helped with her huge, massive mural.
Yes.
And then we had some rain in between. So, and then we waited for the scaffolding. So I think we could have done both of them in 2 weeks.
Okay.
You must have had an audience though while you were doing this. You must have had people stop and just, you know, ask you questions and stare, and because it's something that most of us can't do. Like that was
really the best part. The first day, you know, I heard honking and I thought people were gonna curse or something because I've never experienced that. And we were getting thumbs up and people walking by saying thank you, our neighborhood needed it. So all of that, including meeting some artists that applied and somebody said, oh, you're one of the lucky ones. And I'm like, yes, I know, I am so lucky. Because I know there's so many talented artists that applied, but the city of Coquitlam committed to do more murals. So I think they're going to put a call out. So if you are watching and you want to, please keep applying, and hopefully Port Moody and Port Coquitlam do the same.
Right. Did you have to submit an idea for what the mural would look like as part of your, was it a proposal, or was it based on your past work that they made a choice?
They made a choice based on my past work, but then I did have to go through the whole process. Like if I submitted a design once I got selected and they didn't like it or we couldn't work together, I wouldn't do it. They wouldn't hire me.
Right.
I got kind of approved to pitch.
Okay. So Opus had a little feedback in terms, or the city had a little feedback? How did that work?
I think it was through an art council in Coquitlam, but we did invite Opus to the conversation because it's their store and we really wanted them to be, you know, we wanted to hear their feedback. Are there colors that you don't like, or are there messages that you really want to highlight? But everybody this was like the dream project where they say, whatever you want to do, we love it. This is like,
because if they look at your work, they can see that you have a certain aesthetic that just, they don't want to get in there and infringe on that. I mean, just let you cut loose. We have a huge mural, a really wonderful, whimsical painted mural around the corner from where I live. And the artist put, you know, her hashtags and her Instagram and all of that. And people take photos there and then tag her. I did it with my sister. I did it with Marnie. And she actually painted a swing into this wonderful floral scene. So it looks like you're sitting on the swing.
right. Oh, I love
I bet you're going to get people who hopefully take their photo there and then tag you on social media, because it's great. It's a great community connection, right? Between the art, which I think that's something I would love. Not a mural, but I love that idea of a community connection with art.
Yeah. I love that. When I apply, I specifically said, that's the wall that I would love to paint, because there were two in that store, the huge one, but I thought, I've never painted a mural, don't give me the big one, I just want to paint the little one. So that was great. And I want to share this because I think this might be helpful to people. I have wanted to do first I admired murals, and then I went from that to thinking maybe one day, and I thought I have to paint a mural before I can apply to paint murals. And I think we've talked about this. I had this plan that in the House of Mouse studio, I was going to paint a wall. And then I had this exercise in like, if I want to feel confident, I should act like I'm confident. So for me, applying, I wasn't expecting them to say yes. Just applying was nerve-wracking because I felt like I didn't have all of the experience under my belt. I wanted it to be perfect before I applied. And I applied saying, I've never painted a mural, but I can paint. And I can figure it out, and I won't let you down, because when I commit to something, I'm going to make sure that it's awesome. And they said yes. Like, I could have waited a year and not apply. And that was my first mural. So sometimes I think I stop myself, like, I'll do it when I'm ready. And sometimes you just have to jump, and then you're ready.
I don't think you're ever ready. And I that's been what I've learned, because I'm so late to coming to art, right? From a non-art background completely. And that my mantra has just been, if not now, when?
Yeah. And my mantra is, it's never too late, because I think there's a good lesson in there, and not just for artists, but for anybody who's thinking of trying.
You figure it out. Like we know we've figured things out before in our lives. And chances are this thing that we haven't done that we want to do, if somebody says yes, we can figure it out. Yeah, we got that.
We don't have to be experts. No. I like that idea. We don't have to be, I'm like the #1 expert on mural painting, right? Like, you don't have to be.
Yeah, the opportunities are out there, and I'm just going to go grab them. I'm just done waiting to be chosen.
Yes.
I just want to put my hand up and say, I'm here, I'm ready, I want to do it. I'm also terrified of heights, and I knew that. I knew the time would come, and I was so glad that the scaffolding was a week late. So I had my first week of painting just in the ground, which was challenging enough. And then the scaffolding came, and I nearly had a panic attack. I couldn't even stand up. I was so scared. And I just first I asked for help. Yeah. So I had some friends that we had a budget for assistance. So they helped. I knew I was not going to be there alone. Yeah. And then I just started visualizing. I stand all day and I never fall. I'm just going to stand in a different.
You're just up a bit higher.
Just a bit higher.
Is it like 2 stories? How high were you?
Honestly, it was a story and a half, but that's how much I don't like heights.
But you can still fall. I mean, what is that?
You can still fall.
15 feet. You could.
Yeah. And because there was a big sign, the scaffolding couldn't get all the way close to the wall. So there was like an Angie-sized gap between me and the wall. But I kept thinking everything I want is on the other side of fear. Everything I want is on the other side of fear. So I'm going to get up there and I'm going to paint my mural. So I had a lot of help on the top part, by the way, I have to admit. but I did get up there and paint it. That was, and I was scared, but I did it anyway, and I can't wait to do it again.
Well, there you go. And I bet you're going to get invited to do some others for sure.
I love it.
They should fly you out here to do one somewhere in my neighborhood, because I would love looking at that.
I would love that.
I will help you.
Oh, yes.
No
Barb's in Ontario.
Oh yeah, I'm in Ontario, in case you're wondering where were you flying
That's
to.
amazing. I don't know why I thought you were in Washington, like across the border.
No.
Other side
No, not
of
at
the
all.
country.
Wow.
I'm 3 hours in your future.
Wow. I love Ontario.
Well, there you go. All the more reason you have to get out here. I wish I lived closer. Like, there's so many people that I have met through No Brush Required where I think, God, why can't we be closer so that you can sort of touch base and, you know, share stories and see each other's work. It's just such a great thing to do.
I have a spare bedroom.
Okay.
I have a spare bedroom, and I have room in my studio. You can come here and paint
I'm
with me for a week.
talking months.
I wouldn't send you away.
Would you?
You do trips together, right? Didn't you go to?
We do. We actually we are going to see each other next week again, next Wednesday. So
after, I was thinking of this, after the next No Brush Require, I get to say to Tamara, see you tomorrow.
I was thinking the same thing next Tuesday.
See you tomorrow. We get to say that once a year. Hopefully we can say that more than once a year going forward, but that'll be cool to say. Hey, do you have those really great Doc Martin shoes that you painted? Or
I do.
What size?
Let me show you.
Just out of curiosity.
Barb needs shoes for next week.
I need shoes. I need rain boots is what I think I'm going to need. Oh my God.
Amazing.
Do you wear those?
No, because they're so pretty.
Okay.
I kind of want to, but I'm not ready yet.
I think you got to wear those. And you're going to get people who stop you in the street and say,
where do you go?
Yeah, they'll buy you the white Doc Martens or whatever, and then give them to you to customize, like you did with those eyeglass cases that you did.
Yes, yeah. You know, with these, I had just started painting for fun without any agenda, just as a hobby, maybe 3 months before Doc Martens reached out. And I was thinking, wow, how, like, everything lined up, because had they reached out, I might have said, I can't paint. I haven't painted in a long time. And the contract was to film myself painting. So I was so glad that I had those 3 months of getting back into painting under my belt.
Yeah.
Because they only sent
3 months. My God.
Yeah.
3 months.
It's been just bottled up, waiting to come out all these years, Angie.
Exploding out of you. Exploding out of you.
It honestly
Okay, so let's talk tape, because I
knew you were going there.
Of course I'm going there. I already warned Angie. So I see you use the purple Scotch guard tape, right?
Yes.
Do you do the gloss medium trick, or do you just, because your lines are really sharp and crisp?
I do that. I use like those little spongy thingies, like sponge brushes, and I use medium, and then I kind of push it. But one added thing that I started doing is I got this $20, it's almost like a squeegee, like a scraper, almost like a rubber scraper. And then when I put the tape down, I slide that thing out so it's really flush against the
like
the canvas.
Could you? Would you use that?
I guess that would work. This thing is like this shape. And
It's a catalyst. It's a catalyst wedge. Yes.
That one. Yes.
Our favorite.
And this is my squisher for collage, and I never even thought that you can use that. Because I just have a little tiny brush that I just use, but
because the finger I don't think is enough to push it down, especially if you're painting over painted places where the paint is uneven.
Yes.
I'm doing some like collage, I guess, in some areas. So I really want to protect the paper. That kind of freaks me out because
gloss medium, just layers and layers and layers. Gloss medium is your best friend.
Yes.
If there's
that's
a problem,
I use matte medium.
Oh, you use matte.
I use matte.
I always heard it like can take some of the gives it a slight, what's the word, milky. Do you not find that?
Sometimes, but because I'm using matte paint, I just kind of use matte
Right.
medium.
Yeah.
Okay. I got lots of matte medium, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So yeah,
exciting.
and then a blow dryer.
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely. I got my old travel blow dryer, which is like duct tape together. That's my drying tool. I just love that you're using these.
I love them.
They are fabulous. And do you
For all
ever
my
use more
money.
than one coat?
I tried to do multiple coats of
Yeah.
paint so it looks really, really thick. Like people think it's paper, but that sometimes I feel like wasteful. The Mexican in me is still like, I think of my mom, like, don't waste anything. Like, but it looks better.
It does.
Do you have to cover it with anything? Like, do you seal it all in at the end? Is there any sort of a medium or varnish or anything that you use? So it's just on there?
Just on there, but the paper that I started using, like when I use Yes Paste to paste it.
I've heard about Yes Paste. Yeah.
I like that's the only thing I've used, so I like it because it's not super wet, so it doesn't bend the paper, and then I do put matte medium on the paper, so that's the only thing that sort of has like a coat.
Mm-hmm. So no varnish or anything like that when you're done in piece?
No, I don't. The only thing I do varnish are the plastic pieces because you do kind of protect the paint, but I'm honestly scared that I'm gonna ruin it. Like if there's a bubble or a hair or so.
Every time I varnish, I have that.
I have a hair always. I think it should become like our thing. There's like, find the hair. I do that on purpose. You have 2 cats, you can't not have like.
My dog is like a cat, so she sheds a lot. So I just feel like after all this work, and I've heard that, kind of 50% varnish and 50% don't varnish. So right now I'm in the non-varnish. Yeah. But for those practical reasons, not because I don't like the look or my heart can't handle it.
Too much stress.
Extremely stressful.
And
then I have this problem of I have to go like, is it done? And touch it. Is it dry?
Yeah, and it's not.
I have to step back and I have to go 24 hours. I know it's only supposed to take, 6 at the most or whatever. I'm leaving it 24 because I have wrecked things by putting my finger in to see if it's done. Like, and then you do it and you're like, why did I do that?
You can't stop touching stuff.
I can't.
I know this about you. Just got to get her finger in there.
Wait to go to art galleries or museums with me next week.
That's good. Yeah. We've already lived through this, Angie. Security guards see us coming. It's like, follow them around.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I have one more question for you. We're almost at 12 o'clock, but I just wanted to ask this experience of working small for so long, and then this experience of scaling up to like a huge level. How do you think it's going to affect what you do next?
I think it's already affecting me. I'm just about to finish a painting and it seems small and it's made me faster. I think I would delay finishing a piece, and I think the mural kind of taught me you kind of have to, do it fast because you don't want to be there for weeks on end.
Yeah. Right.
So I am using bigger brushes now, and I think I'm ready to just go a little bit bigger. I'm still in a small studio and we live in small apartments and homes. So I don't think I'm ready to go huge, but I already feel like that the scale is not intimidating anymore.
Excellent. And you feel freer, don't you, on a bigger substrate? I mean, that's how I feel. I just feel less constrained and less tight.
Yeah. I think people think that it's easier to stay small, but it's actually harder because you have to be more
to be loose in a small space is really tough.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because they can get like really anal looking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What I would love is a mural that is not in a textured wall.
Right.
But I'll take a textured wall.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to keep your eyes open for more calls. I mean, and I've been noticing this recently, is once you start noticing there are calls for things like this, they appear all over the place. It's like the universe says, oh, she's paying attention now, so I'm going to drop them all in front of her. And I bet you there's a lot more opportunity for that out there than we think.
Like I can see like you doing a massive mural in a big, really cool retail space, or a restaurant hiring you to do an amazing feature wall. Like, honest to God, so many possibilities.
We're really good at coming up with work for
Yes,
people.
we are. We're really good at
Love them.
coming
I'll
up with
hire you
ideas
as
for other
my
people,
agents.
not us.
We just like the ideas. I don't know if we're very good at the follow through.
No, we're not. But I did hear you talk about websites, so I'm probably going to reach out to you and be like,
Yes.
how can this be easier for me?
Let's reach out. Yeah. Oh, but I'm so glad. I so admire both of your work, and
Thank you.
it was nice to meet you as well.
So nice.
Yeah, I know it's been great to have you here, Angie, and I really can't wait to come visit your studio. We'll have to do a
Go visit and then take some pictures.
take some pictures, of course, and share
Yeah.
and share
And hold stuff up so I can
and hold
see
stuff.
it.
Okay.
We can do a
Barb
live.
wants a virtual studio tour.
Oh.
Yes.
I love studio tours.
We'll do that.
Yeah, it's like painful for me, but inspiring at the
Yeah.
same time. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again so much. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us and getting to meet Angie. I will leave her details.
Oh, sorry.
That's your sister?
Aw, is that your sister?
My
Hi.
sister, there she is, Royal Geekness MX. She lives in Amsterdam.
Oh, wow.
And she's awesome.
Have you been to visit?
No, we were going to go in 2020. In March 2020 was when we had our tickets.
Okay.
Oh, everything got
Yeah.
canceled, eh?
Yeah.
And that was our friend Kathy saying hi. Great interview, Kathy.
Oh, hey, Kathy.
So Angie and I are on a committee together, the local art shuffle committee. That's how we met last year.
Mhm.
And our other friend Kathy, who's watching, she's on the committee as well. So
And I think my sister popped in because I got a text message from her that flashed across the top of my screen that she remembers us taking pictures at that mural.
Oh.
And Roman popped on. I hope he heard you
I-
talk about her upcycling of plastic stuff because he's an environmentalist. He's a big advocate. Yeah.
awesome. Okay,
Cool.
I will put your links in the show notes afterwards. And Barb, you might have to comment on anybody's
will.
comments that come
This is
through
your
because I
day.
might still be in comment jail.
Yeah. God, I hope you get out soon.
Yeah, you know what? It's the universe telling me to get off my phone.
Yeah, but you're still on your phone. Look at us.
Yeah, once for
Oh, no, you're not. I'm on my phone. You're probably on a computer.
No, you can't do this from a computer.
Oh, you can't?
No.
I just assumed you're like on a, I don't know, swanky laptop or something.
No.
Okay.
No. There you go.
Live and learn.
Okay, Angie, have a great rest of your day. Thanks everybody for watching, and
Yeah,
we'll
thank
talk
you for
soon.
coming.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Have a great
Bye.
week. Bye.